What's up, Browns fans? This is Cleveland football. Let's go. All right. Browns 9, Steelers 23. You could break it down as much as you want, okay? But this thing goes far beyond our problems on offense, far beyond issues at quarterback. But the thing that I looked at that took me by surprise, the thing that stood out most to me was just the lack of fire, the lack of energy and enthusiasm and just the grittiness. It just wasn't there, especially out of a rivalry game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We talk about a rivalry where we saw Terry Bradshaw get slammed on his head. Antonio Brown drop kicking a kicker. Or James Harrison tried to decapitate Josh Cribbs. Tried to murder Muhammad Massaquoi. That hit Muhammad Massaquoi, tried to knock him out. Or when Myles Garrett Donkey Kong punched Mason Rudolph, or with the helmet. All right. Now, I'm not advocating for that level of violence. No, I'm not. That's a time when the game, I'm not advocating for that level of violence. But what I'm looking at is, where was the intensity? Where was the intensity? And it just wasn't there out of a rivalry game. But let's look at these numbers. Gabriel, 52 throws, 29 of 52 throws, 221 yards, more of the same of what we see, just these high volume of underneath throws. 8 quarters, and we have one shot downfield, and we took that shot when we got on the side of the 50, but 8 quarters, and you take one. Well, the offensive line can't hold up. Well, if it's just not there, no. Because you could scheme up some things. You can go off script. You could break some tendencies. You can max protect to take a shot. Sometimes you take a shot just to soften that defense up a little bit. Again, so easy to cover. We run Junkins 12 times, 12 for 36 yards. I mean, he's been our most productive player on offense, and we give him the ball 12 times. Fannin led us in catches, 7 for 81. We can't get the receivers the ball. It's just 248 total yards, more of what we're seeing, so just not surprised. Nothing has changed. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, I mean, Rodgers, he had a decent game, but, I mean, the Steelers, they don't scare me, right? I wasn't overly impressed. Didn't film this, just see this, just overwhelming force by the Pittsburgh Steelers. No, I didn't see that. This is a team where they will likely make the playoffs and get bounced the first round. They beat us, but they didn't look. I didn't see this. I'm like, oh my God. I didn't see that looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers. But they took the shots downfield. They took the shots. 8 quarters, and we take one shot downfield. And barely did that. I'm counting it as a shot. But here's the thing. You could talk about the stats. You could talk about the offensive line. You could talk about the quarterback. You could talk about all these things. But those things are just symptoms. They're symptoms of a bigger issue, all right? And that big issue is what I call the line of continuity and cohesion. All right, that line of continuity and cohesion. And here's that line. I wish I had a chart. I could break it down for you. Ownership, GM, head coach, especially if the head coach is also the offensive coordinator, quarterback, O-line, and then everything else spread out from there. This line of cohesion and continuity. You have to have some consistency. You have to be on the same page. You have to be together. Ownership, GM, head coach, quarterback, O-line, and everything else spreads out from there. Because what took me by surprise, right, when they asked Coach Stefanski about the Flacco trade, his reply was, and he's usually, you're not going to get much from him from his answers how he truly feels, but every now and then he'll give a tale, right? He'll tell you something without telling you something. And for him to say, "Oh yeah, that one caught all of us by surprise." What do you mean it caught all of us by surprise? You as a head coach, this was your starter for the past 4 weeks or so, right? And then he's traded. Were you consulted before he was traded? Or was he just traded without you even knowing, and then they tell you afterwards? And then if that's the case, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happened based on some of the things that have occurred throughout the years. All right? You could go back to, we could go back to Baker. All right? Y'all don't want to move forward with Baker. You want to go in a different direction? Okay. All right. But can you tell me that Deshaun Watson is the person that Kevin Stefanski had wanted at quarterback at that time? Personally, I don't think so. Right? And if the GM or ownership could make that decision, all right, despite the feelings of the head coach, who is also the offensive coordinator, that's a problem. That's a problem. You draft a quarterback in the 3rd round, Dylan Gabriel, then you turn around and in the 5th round and you draft Shedeur Sanders. Do you mean to tell me that's a decision that was made by Kevin Stefanski, who will be coaching this guy? Who will be coaching these guys? I don't think so. And that is a problem. When you have a head coach who's also the coordinator and decisions are being made without their input. And I believe that is happening. So you giving me these guys, right? Guys that I don't necessarily, didn't necessarily choose, right? And then now I'm going to put them in an offense where they're going to have to run what I want to run, all right? Despite of their skill set or what they're comfortable with or what would benefit them. They're going to have to run my system, a system that is very rigid. This is, as long as things are the way they are, with the relationship between ownership, GM, quarterback, things aren't going to change. Could you imagine? You imagine a quarterback being traded away? Let's say, I don't know, under Andy. I'm saying Andy Reid. He's a head coach who also calls plays, and I know he's an all-time legend, Super Bowl champion, multiple Super Bowl champions. So you comparing the two, but still, a head coach should have a certain level of influence over personnel decisions, especially if you are also a coordinator. Right? That's terrible. Think about it. And to be a head coach and a coordinator is not easy, because also you're running the offense, but you also have to keep an eye on everything that's happening around the team. There's only a few guys that have been able to be successful in doing that over the years. You think of an Andy Reid, a Sean McVay, you go even farther back, a Mike Shanahan or a Mike Holmgren. But these guys on offense, their offenses were dynamic, were incredible. This offense, I have to tell you, Kevin Stefanski is not an offensive guru. And this is showing, because you have to be able to adjust to what you have and be able to open things up and do some different things from week to week as to what you need to do to win. Like,
you could have hired any athlete. Do you know what Ben charges? But me, I'm deliciously affordable. Just like Duncan's $6 meal deal.
And that is going to be an issue from here on if things remain the same. If you could have a GM or ownership that could just totally disregard the influence of the head coach and just do what they want to do personnel-wise. Oh, well, we got to make sure that, we got the contracts are in order. Okay, you made terrible decisions contractually with other players that is putting you in this position. And you haven't learned. Line of continuity and cohesion. Ownership, GM, head coach, quarterback, O-line, everything permeates from there. That line for us is just severed. I don't know what it is. And this is why you see the dysfunction. All right? So until that changes, we're going to continue to see what we see. All right? This is what I have. If you like, hit the like button. Be sure to share, be sure to comment, and be sure to subscribe.